Hi, I'm James Ritchie. I'm a writer and a gamer. I enjoy playing games as well. And I came across a game called Battle for Wesnoth, and I was so enamored by the game that I actually wrote a novel based off of one of the campaigns in the video game. So anyway, this is my experience on writing the novel and publishing it, which I published it last year. Here's a copy of the book. You can get it. You can download it. And basically, I just want to share my experience with you about how it came to be. I hope you enjoy.
Chapter 1. Elves Besieged. Conrad ran through the forest laughing and joking with his friend Amir. They carried bows, hunting deer and small game, but soon gave up on the hunt and decided to swim in the Athenwood River instead. They swam in the clear, cool waters, picking up crystals and the occasional gem from the bottom. He couldn't remember a time when he was more happier living in the forest among the elves. Conrad suddenly sensed a presence calling to him within his thoughts. It was the mage, Delphador. The mage had taught him the elven magic of telesthea when he was a boy. Many elves had the ability, but humans such as himself had the gift also, but less so. Fortunately, the mage had trained him while young, teaching him to progress to telepathy with the three people he was most close to: Delphador and his two elvish step-parents, the Lord and Lady of Athenwood Forest, Galdrad and Chantal. He opened his mind and sent his thoughts to the mage. "What is it you want, Delphador? I'm hunting with Amir." He sensed a reply from the mage.
"Conrad, this is important. You must come to the Citadel at once."
"Okay, I'll be there as soon as I can." "What is it?" Amir asked. "It's Delphador. He wants me back home." "I thought your lessons weren't till tomorrow." Conrad shrugged. "I don't know what's up, but I have to go." "I'll come with you," the elf said. "Maybe it's nothing and we can go hunting this afternoon." They swam to the riverbank and put their clothes and boots back on, then made the short trek to the elvish castle. Entering the courtyard, he found elvish rangers and other recruits gathering there. They looked as if they were preparing for war. Conrad saw Delphador speaking with Lord Galdrad. He approached and asked, "What's going on?" Delphador looked more dire than usual.
"An elvish patrol discovered orc assassins in the forest."
"Assassins?" Conrad exclaimed in surprise. He looked at Amir. The elf looked just as shocked. Lord Galdrad told Amir, "You should go home to your parents. Make sure they know that we prepare for war. Go." Amir bowed to the elf lord and glanced at Conrad. "See you later." He ran off. Delphador told Conrad, "The patrol managed to catch and kill the orcs, but I'm afraid it's only the beginning. Reports are coming in that the orcs have entered the forest. Skirmishes have begun." Chantal appeared from the keep and approached. She was dressed in elvish armor and carrying the magical staff she used for battle. She reached out for Conrad, drawing him close to her in a mothering way. "Why were there assassins here?" Conrad asked. Delphador answered, "They were here for you, Conrad." "What?"
"I know it is hard for you to accept," Delphador continued, "but it appears Queen Ashenvere has discovered your whereabouts after all these years and seeks to eliminate the threat you pose."
"What threat am I to the Queen of Wesnoth?"
Delphador replied, It is because you're next in line of succession to rule Wesnoth. You, Conrad, are heir to the throne. Conrad let that sink in. In the past, he heard rumors about it as he grew up, but this was the first time the mage revealed the truth of it to him. The queen has penetrated the elvish magic of the forest and discovered your whereabouts, Delphador said. With the orc assassins eliminated, her advantage has been lost. She moves her orc army to surround the forest. It appears they are attempting to cut off any retreat. Soon they will enter and attack us directly. I fear the great battle has come to Athenwood after 16 years of secrecy. Conrad became upset. He pulled away from his elf mother. I don't want to be heir. I just want to live here in the forest with you and my friends. Can't we convince the queen she has nothing to worry about? The mage and the elves exchanged glances. Chantal spoke to Conrad in her usual gentle tones. Queen Ashenvere is a vicious tyrant. She has caused great suffering throughout the lands. She and her orc allies have destroyed many towns and cities, enslaving humans and elves alike. I have always sensed that it was your destiny to save Wesnoth from its plight. She looked to Lord Galdrad for support. The Elf Lord spoke. Conrad, we had hoped you would have grown completely into a man before having to confront the Queen, but it hasn't turned out that way. We have done our best to protect you like a son, but you will have to grow up quickly and face what fate has presented you. He put a hand on Conrad's shoulder. We will stand with you and face the threat together. It's time for you to face the truth of who you are. A ranger approached and whispered to Lord Galdrad before moving away. Galdrad looked at Chantal and said, I must go to the northern stronghold. The orcs have penetrated the forest there. Chantal, you must go to the eastern stronghold and see if the orcs approach us by sea. He turned to Conrad. You shall stay here in the citadel with Delphador to protect you. The Elf Lord sent a thought to Conrad. I will let you know when it's safe. Lord Galdrad kissed Chantal. He then climbed onto his awaiting horse and rode out of the citadel with a group of elvish scouts. Conrad watched until the Elf Lord was gone. Chantal gave Conrad a reassuring hug. We will do everything in our power to protect you, Conrad. Stay with Delphador. Then she sent a reassuring thought to him using her elven magic. Remember, I love you, always. And then she too was gone to face the orcs. Conrad looked at Delphador's grim expression. It felt as if everything he had ever known was coming to an end.
One of the things to understand about this novel is it's considered an open source novel. The game, Battle for Wesnoth, is an open source game, and everyone that participates in the development of the game contributes to the game. So computer programmers that write the software that go into the game, they share that software. So in this case, when I wrote this novel, it is considered an open source novel, and it is provided for anyone who wants to acquire the work so that they can modify and improve it or change it or do whatever they wish to do with it. And that's what makes this writing so unique, is that it is something that can be integrated into the game. It can be modified by other people within the community. This is a very unique way of writing a novel. And so basically what open source software is software that can be freely accessed, used, changed, and shared in modified or unmodified form by anyone. Open source software is made by a lot of people and distributed under particular licenses that comply with the open source definition. And that's what this novel follows. It follows the guidelines of the open source definition. So people ask, can you sell open source software for commercial purposes? And the answer is yes, as long as you can provide the actual documentation or software source material for other people to modify or to use. And I've followed those guidelines. My intention of putting together an open source novel was hopefully to collaborate with other writers in writing additional Battle of Wesnoth stories. So I'm still hopeful that there will be other writers that will participate, and perhaps some of these stories can be integrated into the game directly. People could download novels and stories directly from the game. That's my hope, that the community will move in that direction, but who knows? So anyway, this is my way of participating in the community, because I'm not a software guy. I don't write software. I write stories. I write books. So, but I also love to play games, and one of the thrills for me was this is an open source game, so that everybody can participate and add value to the game. And that was my hope, is to add value to the Battle of Wesnoth game. I just wanted to share and contribute what I could to the community. That was my intention. So hopefully that has happened. The novel actually falls under the GNU General Public License, I think version 3. Anybody can download it. I'm just hoping that people will actually purchase the hardback copy to support my efforts to continue to write perhaps more of the stories within the game. Anyway, here is my adventure into actually writing the novel, and hopefully this will help other writers approach their writing, their own stories, whether it be stories in Wesnoth or their own works. So here's what I have to offer. What I'd like to share is I have actually reached the halfway point. I didn't know if I was going to make it through, so I thought I would just make a quick video and talk a little bit about it. So what I have been doing is I've been taking the game, translate the scenarios into chapters of a novel. So let's see, let me bring it up here. Anyhow, what I've been doing is I've been writing chapter by chapter. It's taken me a couple of days to a week per chapter. I started in April 25th is when I first came up with the idea after playing Battle for Wesnoth, Heir to the Throne, and I thought, man, gee, this would be a great novel. And of course, you know, I went out and was seeing if other people have written any fan fiction on the stories in Wesnoth, and so no, I didn't find anyone who even attempted it. So what I did was I decided to write it.
So, anyway, like I said, I'm at the halfway point. I'm on chapter 12, The Northern Winter, and I have been flipping back and forth between writing the chapters and my notes that I drop into my Google Drive. And a lot of the notes come from the dialogue from the scenarios, as well as some of the wiki information that people have provided on tactics and whatnot, so I can get an idea of, the best way to tell the scenario. So anyhow, like I said, I'm currently about 32,000 words and halfway point. So I just wanted to take a pause here and share this moment, because for me, writing something and sticking to it has been an issue throughout my entire writing career, and I have found that it has been a thrill and there's been excitement in writing this story. So I just want you to know that for me, this has been an incredible challenge. Something that's just excited me over the last couple of months. So today is what is this? June 19th, which is it's Texas's Emancipation Day of the freeing of slavery. So anyway, I'm taking a day off from work and trying to grind through a chapter or two. So anyway, there you have it. I'm working on Battle of Wesnoth. So, Heir to the throne. Alright, so this is June 22nd, and I'm going to start working on my chapter for the day. Yesterday I reached completion for chapter 12, and so I got my chapter 13 set up. Basically how I'm going to run through the chapter here, and then I've got to fill it in. So yeah, so I'm hoping to complete, let's see here, I'm going to go ahead and add completed, let's see, finished chapter 12. Alright, so we finished chapter 12 on Thursday, and then we are moving, Dwarven doors to today, and then I'm hoping to get chapter 14 finished tomorrow for the weekend. So this is kind of where I'm at in June. My objective was to do about from chapter 7 to chapter 14, and then next month I have the last of the chapters laid out. So currently that's kind of where I am at. So right now I've got to get busy. And I guess I'll check in after I've either completed
13, or hopefully 13 and 14. So there you have it. Alright, I'm going to do the Dwarven Doors replay so that I can kind of get the dialogue. We want Dwarven Doors replay. Okay. Alright, so we're going to do continuous play. This is basically how I ran it, like, for the 5th time. Basically, I just, to make sure I could knock out everybody, I just loaded up on my soldiers. Uncle Sumph. Oh, any friend of Athix is friend of mine too. And you forgot the comma after the 2. At least I would use a comma after the 2. It's amazing. I love this game. I could just watch this. Cuttlefish. Arr! A monster was hiding in that lake. Like you didn't know you were living there. The legend was true. There are always tentacled creatures hiding in the lakes of near the Dwarven tunnels. Awesome. Hiding in the woods. Yeah, Uncle Sumph didn't made it very well. Yeah, I bum rushed their encampment. Scouts don't last long. Yeah, these are all level 1, so they have a hard time. That's why I overwhelmed them with numbers. Yeah, I just kept loading them up. I wanted to make sure that I
was not going down. Conrad. Gallants. Delphador.
In the morning, as they started off, they were greeted by orc signal drums behind them. The drumming was then answered by drums to the east, then to the west, and finally further in the mountain range ahead. It appeared the orcs were approaching from every direction, knowing exactly where the company was headed. The Dwarven doors. Delphador exclaimed, "Let us make haste! They know where we are, and shall converge upon us. We must make for the pillars of Thundane." Heidel sent horsemen ahead to scout the terrain as the main body of the company moved on foot. Delphador led the way. The company hurried through the pines, reaching a plateau where Conrad saw a huge fortress with grand ornate towers to either side. Conrad called out to the mage while they ran. "What is this place?" "The Dwarven kings used to reside here as their country estate, which doubled as a watch fortress for the region. It fell during a great battle with the orcs some years ago, but remains a defensible position for what may come." Coming in from the northeast, one of the elvish scouts on horseback rode up carrying a passenger. A small human who wore a leather jerkin jumped off the back of the horse and bowed before Conrad. "My lord, I am Somph. I have been hiding out in an abandoned village near here, waiting for the orcs to pass. But I see they have been tarrying here, waiting on your company. I beg to accompany you to the Dwarven city, Gnauga, to escape them." Conrad noticed Somph was somewhat an elderly man. "Can you fight?" "I've swung a mace or two during my time, lord," Somph responded, hefting his weapon. "But I must warn you, the doors are shut, and they will not answer nor open for anyone." Conrad looked at Delphador and saw the mage frown. Somph then added, "But I know a secret way into the Dwarven city." "Then you are with us," Conrad said, continuing northwards towards the Pillar of Thundane. They traveled a time as the ruined fortress came into clear view. It was then that Conrad heard the howling of wolves and the yips of their orc riders coming from the west. Bursting from the trees were scores of wolf riders. They oriented on the company and charged across the plain at them. Lord Callants shouted, "Rangers, form up!" The elves made a defensive line as Haddel's Blackwater horsemen grouped up to flank the wolf riders. When the riders came into range, the elves loosed their arrows. Many of the riders and their wolves went down before the remainder reached them. The fighters of Elsinfar and the elvish swordsmen charged forward and engaged the last of the orc riders as more orcs arrived. Orc foot soldiers appeared through the trees, moving methodically toward the company in formation. There were dozens coming at them from the west, but by the sound of the nearing drums, others were coming in from the south and east. Lord Callants shouted, "Retreat to the pillars!" The company continued until they reached the shattered gates of the Thundane and saw the place was in ruins, although the walls remained high and could still hold against attackers. The company passed through the broken gates to enter the fortress's bailey. Lord Callants commanded his rangers, "Secure both gates." Some elves worked on the gate as they went through, as others rushed to the far side of the courtyard, to the northern gatehouse. Delphador led Conrad up through the gatehouse as the elves worked to shut the gates and bar it with timber found in the courtyard. Others worked to free the gears of the portcullis, dropping it into place to secure the entrance. "Come," Delphador beckoned Conrad. They found winding steps that climbed to the top of one of the watch pillars. Reaching the first observation platform, Conrad could see the whole valley. What he saw terrified him. He could see the extent of the orc force. Below, there were at least 200 or 300 orc fighters approaching the walls. But there was also a large force on its way. There were hundreds, if not 1,000 orc soldiers and wolf riders coming from the south. More orcs were approaching from the east, moving to cut off their northern advance. If they didn't continue their escape, they could become surrounded and trapped here. "Just as I surmised," Delphador said dryly. "We will not be able to hold here. It appears we must continue to the Dwarven city and hope the dwarves render us aid." As Conrad returned to the courtyard, the first wave of orcs reached the southern fortress walls and began firing crossbow bolts at the elves there. The elves fired back with their arrows. Rodar, Amir, and the other elvish archers worked together to pick off the orc arbalests. Conrad announced, "We can't stay here. The orcs are too numerous. We must continue north and make our escape." He saw the concern on the faces of his comrades. "We'll stay ahead of them and reach Nalga," he reassured them. Conrad led the company through the northern gate and continued on their way. He then called Somp to his side and questioned the man. "You said the doors were sealed. Where is the way in?" Somp replied, "There is a secret side entrance to the east. I know the trail that will take you there, but it's a long way. It will take us the entire day to get there. We won't reach it until tomorrow morning." "Then let us begin," Conrad said, doubling his pace. They traveled on a ruined road that led directly to the cliffs beneath the Heart Mountains. In the distance, Conrad saw a waterfall and what must have been a lake. Somp led Conrad and the others off the road and towards the northeast. Conrad asked, "Why not stay on the road? It's quicker, and there's water for the company." "Oh no, my lord. There is a creature in the lake that must be avoided." "What sort of creature?" Delphador inquired. "It's immense and eats anything that comes near the water. Deer, bears, people. It's best to go around the lake and avoid it at all costs." Conrad heard shouting from the rear guard of elves. A group of orc wolf riders appeared, firing arrows and charging at the defenders. Lord Callants and the Magi with him stopped and held their positions, using their magic to repel the attackers. After the orcs were dealt with, they started to move to rejoin the company, when another group of orc riders appeared directly east of their position, and were forced to repel them as well before they could advance northward. The attacks were delaying the company. Conrad said, "We need to find a way to stop the orc riders from rushing us and slowing us down. At this rate, the whole lot of them will be on us by nightfall." Delphador said, "I have a plan to distract them. The rest of you must go on. Conrad, take the company to the secret door." The mage asked Hygel to provide him a horse. "Make that 2 horses," Conrad said, eyeing the mage. "I don't know what kind of mischief you're devising, Delphador, but I'm sticking with you on this one. I'm not leaving your side." The mage looked displeased. "As you will, but this shall be dangerous," Delphador grumbled, but decided not to refuse Conrad in front of the others and undermine his leadership. Conrad called to Rodor and told the elf ranger, "Go with Somp. Have him lead the company to the secret door. Delphador has a plan to thwart the orcs' harassment. We'll catch up as soon as we can." Rodar nodded and continued ahead. Leading other elves and men on the side path Somp took them on. Lord Callants remained behind, with a rear-guard accompaniment of elf archers, swordsmen, and magi. Delphador told Lord Callants, "You and the others must go on with the rest of the company as well. Conrad and I will create a diversion so the company can make good on their escape." "Should I not stand with you?" Lord Callants asked. "The others shall need your leadership if we fail," Delphador told the elf lord. Callants nodded and hurried away with the rest of the fighters. Only Conrad and Delphador remained. "So what's your bright idea?" Conrad asked. Delphador frowned at Conrad. "Just stick close and run when I say to."
Yeah, I was running out of time to get to the third one, so I think I ended it before I was able to take out the last orc. So, and then that brings us to the next chapter, which is plunging into the darkness. So anyway, that was an instant replay of the latest battle that I did. So anyway, I am still on 13, trying to get through the Dwarven doors, and then on to the meeting the dwarves. So that's where I'm at. I am currently on Chapter 16, Hasty Alliance. And again, what happens is I get to a point where I'm like, okay, what do I need to express here? What needs to be said? So I will inevitably go to the game and do a replay of my last game to get an idea of what I should be focused on. So let's go and do a replay of this. Alright, so you get the dialogue here, and I've already kind of added all the dialogue and tweaked it. So mainly I'm after like names, and of course that's one of the things I needed to focus on. Was Lasar shows up first, they have their discussion here, and then the bad guys show up. So I like that line. Die, you sun lovers. Anyway. Alright, so we're going to run through this, and I'll just watch it and get some ideas on how I should write the next chapter. Yeah, Conrad got beat up. Conrad, the hero. Croc. Maybe I should have Lasar have Croc with her. Come on, Croc, stay with us. Oh, Croc's dead.
After another length of time traveling through solid rock, they emerged from the tunnels into a vast, dark cavern. The darkness was so intense the cavernous void stretched out beyond sight, which no ceiling or walls were visible. The stone floor before them was worn smooth. Conrad asked, "Which way now?" Delphador again used the talisman before guiding the company through the center of the ominous cavern. As they traveled through the void, Conrad eventually saw a red glow in the distance, and the smell of sulfur and brimstone became intense. The air was circulating almost to the point of a breeze. He soon saw what appeared to be a massive furnace and several kilns for forging steel. Just beyond the dwarvish smithy was a lake of broiling lava which provided the cavern a dim light. There was a subsurface rumble under their feet which indicated the lava was moving deep under the earth. Trithol exclaimed, "Glory be, this is the heart of the mountains. This must be the great forge." Athlos nodded in agreement. "This is where many of the great enchanted weapons were forged, as well as the scepter of fire," Conrad said. "So the ancient dwarves took the scepter back down into the forge and hid it." He looked to Delphador. "Where do you think it is?" The mage was concentrating on the location of the scepter when the clattering sounds of armor were heard. Conrad turned towards where they had come and noticed several lights from what appeared to be magi staves and torches. Several forms appeared out of the darkness and came into the light. "On guard!" Conrad heard a voice he recognized, and then he saw her. Princess Lasar. She had 200 of loyalist soldiers along with magi and even a hill troll with all weapons drawn, but she did not give the order to attack. Conrad asked, "What in the world are you doing here?" "Tracking you down, of course," she responded hotly. "You have escaped me for the last time." Trithol exclaimed, "How did you get past King Raglorn's forces?" He had his warhammer raised as well. "I did not get past them," Lasar explained. "Your king allowed me to enter the great caverns. I yielded my attack so that no dwarves would be harmed. I gave that promise to the Dwarven king." She then commanded, "Dwarves, stand aside so I may do battle with Conrad and his forces." Apparently, she did not want the bloodshed to extend to the dwarves, or King Reglorn would not be pleased. Conrad demanded, "Lasar, why do you persist? You must know that you are not the true heir." "I don't care about that," she replied. "I only want justice for the death of my captain, Sir Ronry. He was like a father to me, and you killed him." Conrad retorted, "So you want revenge? What I want is to execute you, claim the scepter, and return to the light of day." Belphador's magic erupted. He sent a bolt of lightning up into the cavern heights. He roared, "Foolish girl, you bring ruin upon us all. Do you not know we are surrounded by all manner of creatures, and you want to fight us?" "What do you speak of, mage?" Lasar demanded. A tiny growling voice came out of the darkness to answer her. "Surprise, sun-lovers." It was a goblin, and there were more goblins, scores of them, with dozens of filthy orcs, cave trolls, and their whelps. They moved into the light from every direction. Conrad said, "We're surrounded. Do you still want to fight us, princess? Surely you will lead us all to our doom." Lasar said, "Fine, we fight together until we return to Gnalga. Agreed?" Conrad said, "Agreed. We'll resolve this issue later." He raised his sword and turned toward the onrushing goblins. The enemy charged at them from every side, screaming and howling with bloodlust. Lasar turned and swung her sword, decapitating a goblin that leapt at her, but managed to shout at Conrad, "But once I escape from this hole, I have a score to settle with you." Both Conrad and Lasar's forces came together into a circle, facing outward with a ring of steel, protecting each other's backs. The fighting became intense. The elves fired only 2 or 3 arrows before resorting to their short swords to defending themselves. The Dwarven guard held firm with their small shields and spears, as others swung their war hammers, smashing into the goblins and orcs alike. The mapper, Peldring, raised his thunderstick and fired at one of the trolls, downing the beast with a resounding boom. The loyalist soldiers fought brilliantly, destroying goblins and orcs by the score. Conrad fought beside Emir and Rodar, swords drawn, repelling the small goblins who wielded knives and clubs. Suddenly, a cave troll smashed into the loyalist line, breaking the protective circle. It appeared the line was about to collapse, but then Delphador whirled around and summoned his magic, striking the cave troll full force with a lightning strike that caused the creature to wither and collapse. The loyalists closed the gap, but the mage was assaulted by an agile troll whelp that jumped onto the mage's back and started hammering his fists into the man. Conrad stabbed his sword into the creature, causing the little monster to leap away, howling. It was a dwarf's hammer that finished it off. Lasar was holding her own against a cave orc that assailed her, but then a pair of goblins came at her, knocking her down. Conrad saw her fall and was compelled to come to her aid, slicing open one of the goblins. Suddenly, the armored troll in Lasar's force leapt into the fray before the princess, swinging a massive club. 6 goblins went flying into the darkness, shrieking in pain. The troll shouted, "Croak mad! Nasty goblins! Bad!" The troll, Croak, continued to batter more of the filthy little creatures until the defenders were able to recover their protective perimeter. Conrad reached down and grabbed Lasar by the hand and helped her to her feet. She only glared at him before turning back to the attackers. Conrad witnessed Alphys being struck by a massive rock. It was thrown by a troll. The dwarf went down, his face and chest smeared in blood. The dwarf did not move. Trithol raised his weapon and cried, "By King Reglorn's hammer, I shall avenge you!" The mighty dwarf rushed the troll. He dodged the troll's attacks and swung hard at the creature's knees, smashing the bones that supported the beast. The troll went down, howling in pain. The dwarf leapt upon its chest and brought its warhammer down on the troll's head, crushing its skull. The troll twitched once, then no more. The goblins, orcs, and trolls suddenly began chanting, "Half Galga, half Galga, half Galga." A massive troll lumbered out of the dark. Without doubt, it must have been the leader of this motley bunch of underworld dwellers. It came right at the troll warrior in Lasar's group, Kruk. The troll stood head over shoulders above Kruk,
and swung a tree-sized mace at him. Kruk was unprepared for the assault, too late in defending against the approaching threat. The loyalist troll warrior went sailing into the air and landed in the open pit of lava. The poor creature gave an agonizing cry, burst into flames, and disappeared into the boiling rock. This galvanized the defenders, and they rallied. Suddenly, both Magi from Lissar's group blasted the troll leader, followed by Delphador and Callance's magic. There was no way for the troll leader to repel the massive assault of magic. The creature burst into flames among the sea of goblins surrounding it. The troll leader fell dead in a smoldering heap. Seeing their leader defeated, the remaining creatures suddenly bolted, fleeing in every direction, the wave of attackers disappearing into the darkness. The battle was over.
Here we go. Well, we have helped each other survive. Of course, she stayed back. But of course, in the novel, I prefer her actually doing the fighting. So that will be included because she's a very strong, strong-willed character. All right. And there we have it. So, I guess one of the things that I wanted was to add the, let's see, we have troll whelps. We also have, what is it? What was that troll's name? Let's go back and look. Kruk. Yeah, I guess it'd be Kruk. Alright, so I pulled some names. So anyway, that's how I go about making sure that names get put into the novel. So anyway, this is an example of how I work on Heir to the Throne. Basically, as I write the chapters, I kind of go through my instant replays and get names, and it helps rejuvenate my imagination about the what happens in the scenario, and then I just write my interpretation of it. All right, well, there you have it. I am in the middle of Chapter 16, Hasty Alliance. I'm trying to keep the word count right around 2,200 words per chapter, but of course I have not succeeded so well. A lot of times I will, like at the beginning, the word count goes high. Whenever there's like some really intense fighting, the word counts go up. But like I said, I've been trying to keep it right around 2,200 words, like the Valley of Death here. I was able to keep it right at 2,200. Griffin Mountain, the Fort of Albez. And this one was a light run through. And then, of course, as we went to the Dwarven doors, there was too much going on, so that one got pretty heavy in detail, as did Plunging into the Darkness. And then, of course, there were several battles in the Lost General, so that one took me a while. And of course, I was having some other issues which slowed me down. But anyway, so right now that's where I'm at. I'm drafting and editing Hasty Alliance, and for those of you that don't know, my little method basically has been to write the novel using LibreOffice Writer. I come to where I'm at the end here, which is right now I'm on page 93. So and then what I do is when I have to go to work and so I take a lunch break or take a walk or whatever, and I can then use my my phone, and I have the Google apps on the phone, so I can walk around and actually verbally write as the thoughts go through about what's going to happen ahead of time, or I need to make quick notes on where things are going to happen. So that's how I do it. I basically put all my verbal notes here, and then I switch it over and lay everything down in my into Writer. And that's pretty much my method of how I've been putting together Battle for Wesnoth, Heir to the Throne. Hasty Alliance right now. So that's where I'm at. And I'm driving to work and I'm thinking about my story. And here I am at the last chapter. Let us begin. Thanks for watching, and catch y'all later.